From the ashes of war to the towers of innovation, South Korea's story is one of the greatest transformations in modern history. A land once divided, impoverished, and forgotten has become a symbol of resilience. Proof that vision and discipline can rewrite destiny. Today, its cities shine brighter than ever, its culture inspires millions, and its technology connects the world. Yet beyond the numbers and achievements lies something deeper, a collective spirit, forged in hardship, that never stopped believing in tomorrow. South Korea's miracle wasn't luck. It was built day by day by a people who refused to give up. And as the world watches the challenges of a new century unfold, this small peninsula continues to remind us that even the most improbable dreams can endure and rise again. South Korea lies on the southern half of a peninsula that once united one people, now divided by history. It's a country squeezed between mountains and sea, a landscape that both protects and confines. Nearly 70% of its surface is covered by steep forested hills, leaving little room for farming or expansion. To the west, broad plains open toward the Yellow Sea, where centuries of trade connected Korea with China. To the east, rugged cliffs meet the Sea of Japan, facing the island power of Japan itself. At its center flows the Han River, lifeline of the capital, Seoul, a city that grew from ancient fortress valleys into one of the most densely populated metropolises on Earth. This geography has always shaped the Korean destiny, fertile enough to sustain life, but exposed enough to invite invasion. Surrounded by giants, China to the west, Japan to the east, and Russia to the north, the Korean peninsula has often been the crossroads of empires, the frontier where cultures, armies, and ambitions collided. In such a confined and contested space, survival demanded unity, discipline, and resourcefulness, traits that would later become the very foundations of South Korea's transformation. But geography alone doesn't define a nation's destiny. For Korea, the shape of the land would soon meet the force of history, a century marked by occupation, war, and survival. In 1910, the Korean peninsula fell under Japanese rule, a harsh colonial era that reshaped its economy to serve an empire at war. Factories, ports, and railways were built, but always for Japan's benefit. When the empire surrendered in 1945, Korea regained its name and inherited a shattered identity. What followed was not liberation but division. The Allies drew a line at the 38th parallel. Soviet forces occupied the north, American forces the south. Two capitals emerged, Pyongyang and Seoul, and two opposing systems faced each other across a fragile border. In 1950, that border exploded. Backed by China, the North invaded the South, igniting one of the most devastating wars of the 20th century. Entire cities burned. Millions were killed or displaced. When the armistice was finally signed in 1953, the land was still divided, but now in ruins. By the late 1950s, South Korea ranked among the poorest nations on Earth. Hunger, unemployment, and political unrest tore at the fragile republic. Governments rose and fell in quick succession until 1961, when a military coup brought to power a young general named Park Chung-hee. Park's rule would be controversial, even authoritarian, yet transformative. His administration launched sweeping economic reforms, exporting steel, textiles, and machinery, laying the foundations for what would later be called the miracle on the Han River. In less than a generation, a nation that had once fought simply to survive began to imagine prosperity. The journey from division to development had begun. By 1948, the world officially recognized two Koreas: the North, shaped by communist ideology and Soviet support; the South, aligned with the United States and the principles of a free market economy. What followed was a fragile beginning. South Korea emerged from the war with its cities in ruins, industries destroyed, and a population struggling to survive. In the 1950s, its income ranked among the lowest on Earth, poorer than many nations in Africa or Latin America. Then, in 1961, General Park Chung-hee took power through a military coup. His government was authoritarian, yet determined to rebuild the nation. With state-directed reforms, the South launched an unprecedented drive for industrialization, education, and exports. The government forged alliances with emerging family conglomerates, the chaebols, turning them into engines of production for steel, shipbuilding, and electronics. The results were extraordinary. South Korea's GDP doubled every decade, from the equivalent of $33 billion in 1960 to $73 billion in 1970, and rising toward $1.8 trillion by 1985-2021. In 1970, the average Korean earned just $286 per year. Today, that number exceeds $44,000, placing the country among the world's top 25 economies. Life expectancy climbed from 54 years in 1960 to 83 years today, higher than in Canada, Norway, or New Zealand. In less than 2 generations, South Korea turned devastation into prosperity, a transformation so vast it came to be known as the Miracle on the Han River. The Korean model, top-down development. In the aftermath of the Korean War's devastation, South Korea reinvented itself under a state-directed development model. During the 1960s, the government of General Park Chung-hee launched a top-down planning strategy. The state set economic goals, controlled credit, and selected major conglomerates, the chaebols, to spearhead industrialization. State-controlled banks funneled resources into strategic sectors such as steel, automobiles, electronics, and shipbuilding. South Korea bet on exports and 5-year economic plans, blending centralized control with efficient private execution. Yet the success of this model was not purely economic. It rested on a deep sense of national identity, a culture of discipline, and a highly educated, cohesive society. With over 5,000 years of history, a unique language and alphabet, and a strong collective consciousness, Koreans embraced industrialization as a national mission. The government set specific national targets, such as reaching $1 billion in exports, or 10% annual growth, while offering tax incentives and credit access to companies and symbolic rewards to devoted workers, known as export warriors. Through this alliance of state, business, and citizens, an agrarian nation transformed into a technological powerhouse, a living example of disciplined, planned, and shared development. The chaebols, family empires that built a nation. South Korea's lack of natural resources once made it an unattractive destination for foreign investment. But that very scarcity became the driving force behind its development. Deprived of oil and minerals, the government chose to strengthen domestic industry, securing international loans from allies such as the United States and, later, Japan. Out of this strategy emerged the chaebols, family-controlled conglomerates, literally wealth groups, that brought together multiple companies under a single corporate command. During the 1960s, the South Korean state propelled these conglomerates to lead the nation's industrialization and export drive, granting them preferential credit, subsidies, and protection in exchange for performance and discipline. Their family-based structure ensured swift decision-making, internal loyalty, and a long-term vision, qualities that enabled companies like Samsung, Hyundai, and LG to evolve into global giants. Thanks to the chaebols, South Korea transformed from extreme poverty into a technological and industrial powerhouse in just 4 decades. Yet their enormous influence also produced challenges: economic concentration, limited competition, and close ties to political power. Thus, the chaebols embody the double-edged nature of the Korean miracle, both the engine that fueled its rise and the enduring challenge of maintaining balance and transparency in its growth. Education in South Korea, the pillar of national progress. The Korean miracle was forged not only in factories but also in classrooms. After the war, the South Korean government made education the cornerstone of national development, allocating more than 7% of its GDP to cultivating an educated, disciplined, and technologically advanced population. Rooted in Confucian values, respect, diligence, and merit, the educational system emphasizes discipline, teamwork, and perseverance, turning learning into both a moral duty and a source of family pride. Today, South Korea boasts a 99% literacy rate and the highest participation in higher education in the world. Families invest heavily in their children's education, from private academies to elite universities, fostering a highly competitive workforce that has sustained the country's industrial and technological rise. The Korean language, spoken by more than 80 million people, is written in Hangul, a script invented in the 15th century by King Sejong. Meanwhile, the widespread teaching of English has given rise to a curious linguistic hybrid known as Konglish. All of this blends with the culture of Pali, meaning fast, which fuels efficiency, a sense of urgency to innovate, and the relentless pursuit of individual and collective excellence. South Korea, from factories to innovation. Between the 1980s and 2000s, South Korea underwent one of the most remarkable transformations of the 20th century. It evolved from a heavy manufacturing economy into a global hub of technology and innovation. After consolidating its industrial base in steel, automobiles, and shipbuilding, the country entered a new phase centered on advanced technology, driven by the chaebols, and supported by strong state investment in research and education. Companies such as Samsung, LG, and Hyundai diversified their production into semiconductors, consumer electronics, and telecommunications, becoming symbols of the nation's technological era. The expansion of the internet and the rise of digitalization in the 1990s opened the door to a connected, creative, and innovation-oriented economy. At the same time, the country began projecting its identity to the world through the concept of the K brand, a mark that combined quality, design, and culture. The global wave of K-pop, film, fashion, and technology positioned South Korea as a modern cultural and industrial reference point. In just 2 decades, the nation transitioned from producing steel and ships to exporting ideas, culture, and microchips, securing its place at the forefront of the knowledge economy. South Korea, a society under pressure. Behind South Korea's remarkable economic success lies a society marked by constant pressure and the human costs of rapid development. The relentless pursuit of excellence has fostered an intense work culture, characterized by long hours, fierce competitiveness, and little balance between professional and personal life. From early childhood, education is experienced as a race for achievement, leading to stress, exhaustion, and one of the highest suicide rates in the world. Added to this are economic inequality, the concentration of power within the major chaebols, and a declining birth rate that reflects the difficulty younger generations face in building families. In this environment, Korean women are undergoing a profound transformation. Blending tradition and modernity, they have achieved high participation in the workforce, excelling across various fields and driving new entrepreneurial ventures. Yet they also face intense social pressure tied to beauty standards. The cosmetic and plastic surgery industries, pillars of the K-beauty phenomenon, reinforce a culture of physical perfection that affects self-esteem and mental health. Popular jjimjilbang, public bathhouses, and the influence of K-pop reflect a mix of self-care, fashion, and societal expectation. South Korea continues to advance, but now seeks to reconcile progress, well-being, and true gender equity. For decades, South Korea's power was measured in factories, exports, and technology. But in the 21st century, a new form of influence began to rise: culture. The world calls it Hallyu, the Korean wave, a tide of music, film, fashion, and cuisine that has carried Korean creativity to every corner of the planet. From K-pop idols filling stadiums across the Americas, to Oscar-winning films redefining world cinema, and TV dramas streamed in more than 190 countries, South Korea has turned its culture into a global brand. Behind this explosion of creativity lies strategy. Since the 1990s, the Korean government has invested in entertainment, digital media, and design, recognizing that stories and aesthetics could become exports as powerful as steel or semiconductors. The result is a new kind of diplomacy, one powered by emotion rather than armies. Through music, cinema, beauty, and food, Korea has reimagined its national identity and shared it with the world. In cafes in Paris, in malls in London, in the streets of New York, the rhythm of Seoul is now part of global life. From hardship to high culture, South Korea's journey has come full circle. A nation once rebuilding its image now shapes the world's imagination. South Korea's success isn't just measured in numbers. It's written in the design of its cities and the rhythm of its regions. At the heart of the nation stands Seoul, the capital, a city where ancient palaces coexist with glass towers, and where 25 million people live within its metropolitan pulse. Here beats the brain of Korea's innovation. Government, finance, technology, and design converge in one vast urban ecosystem. To the west, Incheon, once a historic port of entry, has become a symbol of modern logistics and global connection. Its international airport and free economic zone link South Korea to every continent, turning geography into opportunity. Travel south along the high-speed rail, and you reach Busan, the nation's maritime powerhouse, home to one of the busiest ports in the world. Through Busan's harbors flow the goods, ships, and ideas that have powered the Korean economy for half a century. Beyond the mainland lies Jeju Island, the volcanic jewel of the south. With its waterfalls, lava cliffs, and peaceful pace, Jeju has become a global tourist icon, a place where millions come to experience the quieter side of Korean life. From the industrial corridors of Ulsan to the digital campuses of Daejeon, every region tells a chapter of the same story. A country that learned to turn geography into growth. Together, these cities form the living map of modern Korea, diverse, efficient, and endlessly moving toward the future. Every miracle carries its own price. South Korea's astonishing rise has created new challenges, not of survival, but of sustainability. The first is demography. With one of the world's lowest birth rates, less than 0.8 children per woman, the population is shrinking faster than any other developed nation. By 2070, South Korea could lose nearly a quarter of its people, threatening its labor force and its economic momentum. The second is technology dependence. The country leads the world in semiconductors, displays, and digital infrastructure. Yet that dominance also makes it vulnerable to global supply chain shocks and regional rivalries. Innovation has made South Korea powerful, but interdependence has made it exposed. Then there is geopolitics, the constant tension of being caught between giants. To the west, China grows assertive. To the east, Japan redefines its military posture. And to the north, a nuclear-armed neighbor remains unpredictable. South Korea's role in the 21st century will depend on how it balances these pressures, defending its democracy, preserving its economy, and guiding its technology in a world that never stops changing. The same discipline that rebuilt the nation must now sustain it, not against war or poverty, but against the quiet challenges of prosperity itself. From the ashes of war to the towers of innovation, South Korea's story is one of the greatest transformations in modern history. A land once divided, impoverished, and forgotten has become a symbol of resilience, proof that vision and discipline can rewrite destiny. Today, its cities shine brighter than ever, Its culture inspires millions, and its technology connects the world. Yet beyond the numbers and achievements lies something deeper, a collective spirit, forged in hardship, that never stopped believing in tomorrow. South Korea's miracle wasn't luck. It was built day by day by a people who refused to give up. And as the world watches the challenges of a new century unfold, this small peninsula continues to remind us that even the most improbable dreams can endure and rise again. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Leave your reflections below, subscribe to the Geography channel for more geopolitical explorations, and share this video to expand the discussion. See you next time in our ongoing journey through history, power, and place.